Hello, this is Mike Robinson. I'm Director of Community Outreach and Hiring for Temple University's Lenfest North Philadelphia Workforce Initiative. I want to thank Agent Johnson for allowing me this opportunity today to speak to you about employer expectations. If you have need of resume assistance, or if you have need of practicing your interviews for an upcoming interview, if you have need of someone to help coach you on how to embark upon an effective job search effort, if you need assistance with any of those things, reach out to me or my colleague, Dana Fletcher, to make an appointment, and we can assist you with any one of those services free of charge. When we think of employer expectations, employers are going to seek out candidates that have experience relevant to what they're hiring for. So right now, if you're unemployed, the best thing you can do is to volunteer a couple of hours a week so that you're keeping your skills sharp. Volunteer with your local congressperson's office, your state representative's office, volunteer at the local rec center. Just volunteer so that you're keeping your skills sharp. Also, by volunteering a couple of hours a week, it also fills in unemployment gaps, because the more unemployment gaps you have on your resume, that works against you. But if you're volunteering, that volunteer experience fills in those unemployment gaps so that it doesn't work against you. So make sure that at least you're volunteering a couple of hours a week. Now, also, employers want people who are very skilled in their area of interest. So one of the things some of you may need to do is to retool. What does that mean? Well, if you didn't complete your high school diploma, you might want to go and earn your GED while you have this downtime. If you didn't complete your college degree, maybe this is the downtime to do that. Maybe you need recertification in an area where you once were certified, but it's expired, and now you need to take a couple of classes, or you need to take some courses to get your certification up to date. Right now is the time, while you have downtime, to retool and get those things in order, because at the very least, you're going to need a GED if you haven't completed high school. So if you need assistance with those kinds of things, between Agent Johnson and myself, we can point you in the right direction for GED training, or if you're looking at higher education to complete a degree that maybe you didn't complete, or if you have a certification that expired, we can even assist you with that and possibly getting that recertification updated. All right. Now, I want you to think about the economics of getting your education and getting your degree or your GED under your belt. When you look at this chart, you'll see on the green the average salaries for levels of education. Less than a high school education, average median salary in this country is $500 plus a week. When you look at a high school educated individual, $730 is the median income per week. When you look at a person who had some college experience, but they didn't earn a degree, $802 is the median average of income per week. And the salaries rise with higher levels of education. What you also see is with more education, less chance of being unemployed. Nobody is immune from being unemployed, but with more education and training, you see that individuals that grow higher on the ladder of education, they are least likely to be unemployed. So keep that in mind. There's a benefit to getting your education. Now, when it comes to professional expectations, employers want you to dress appropriately. If you're in construction, you're going to be wearing probably Dickies, your steel-toed boots, hard hat, etc. If you're working in an office environment, you're going to dress in a suit, tie, all right? And if you're working in a hospital or daycare environment or personal health care environment, you're probably going to be wearing some scrubs. You have to dress appropriately, and that's important. Dress appropriately for your profession. If you're in an office environment, this is the look you're probably going to have, right? And keep in mind, some companies don't mind tattoos, but some companies will frown on that. So if you have body piercings and tongue piercings and tattoos on your face and tattoos all over your body. Some companies may frown on that. I want you to keep that in mind. Some don't mind that stuff, but there are a lot of companies that, are very conservative, and conservative companies frown upon those kinds of things. So keep that in mind as you go forward. Now, what are companies looking for in that interview? You need to talk about these 10 things because these are the top 10 work values that employers look for. Strong work ethic, possessing a positive attitude, loyalty. These are the things you need to bring up in conversation in an interview. Now, just don't make this statement, oh, I'm a loyal employee. Anybody can make that statement. If you're going to make the statement, give an example. If you're going to say, I'm a hardworking individual, give a live example, an actual example that proves that. If you're telling them that you are a punctual, on-time professional, give them an actual example of that. Just don't make the statements, but give the examples to go along with it. Also, don't ever bring up the topics of race, ethnicity, sex, religion, national origin, birthplace, age, disability, your marital family status. Don't bring up any of those topics. Those are illegal topics to bring up in an interview. It is so important for you to avoid these topics in an interview because they're illegal interview questions. And if you're asked in an interview questions pertaining to any of these things, you are not compelled by law to answer those questions. You can sidestep the question by saying, sir, ma'am, I'm grateful that you brought me in today. And any question you have about my ability to do this job and any questions you have about my interest in this position, I'd love to discuss that with you. That's an example of maybe how to sidestep talking about these issues because they're illegal and you're not compelled by law to answer those questions. Now, when it comes to a background check, most employers have this process in place where they're going to do a background check on your criminal history, and they're going to do a background check in some cases on your credit history. It depends on the job. And also a background check can include a drug test, right? Now, this is the time when you bring up your criminal history. Now, don't bring up your criminal history at the beginning of the interview. The only time you're bringing it up is at the point of them wanting to do a background check or at the point of them extending the job offer. That's when you bring up your criminal history. Hit it and quit it. Don't go into a long, drawn out narrative about, you were screwed and you shouldn't have been arrested. You shouldn't have been incarcerated. It wasn't your fault. Don't go into any of that kind of stuff. Just mention to the employer what the crime was that you were incarcerated for. Hit it and quit it and leave it at that. Sir, ma'am, I was arrested for theft and I did 5 years for it. Boom, that's it. Don't go into any deep, long, drawn out explanation because you'll probably shoot yourself in the foot doing that and you'll turn the employer off. So hit it and quit it. Just state what the crime was and leave it at that. Also, a part of the background check, as I mentioned a moment ago, can include a drug screening. So, for example, let's say you have a medical marijuana card. A medical marijuana card may not float with some employers, even though you have a doctor's certified medical marijuana card that allows you to smoke weed. Some companies still go by the federal law, and by federal law, marijuana is still considered an illegal controlled substance. So be mindful of that because some drug tests, if you come up positive with marijuana, even though you may have a marijuana card, some companies don't honor that because federally weed is still illegal. And keep in mind that employers are including in their drug screening urine tests, blood tests, hair follicles where they take a hair sample, and those are multiple ways that you may be tested for drugs. So keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to employer expectation, the next thing I want to talk about is your resume. Your resume is your highlight reel. Think of a sports event. If you watch a sporting event, whether it's a basketball game, a football game, or a baseball game, Typically, those games, if you're watching them, are a couple of hours long. But when you watch the highlights of the game on the news, late night news, they show you the highlight, the best touchdown, the best home run, the best slam dunk. They show you the best of what took place in that game. They don't show you the whole game. They just show you the highlight reel of the very best of what took place in that game. Your resume is your highlight reel. It's not every single thing and every single duty and every single responsibility that you've ever had. It's the best of what you've done. It's the best of your responsibilities. It's the best of your accomplishments and achievements. And so keep that in mind as you're comprising and putting together your resume. Only include the very best of what you've done and what your accomplishments were. Now, some companies will want a cover letter in addition to your resume. I would recommend that you do a cover letter in the T cover letter format. If you Google T cover letter, you'll see examples of what I'm talking about. But some companies want a cover letter. What is a cover letter? A cover letter is a one-page document that explains your interests and experience in the position, why you're qualified for that position you're applying to. It's a one-page document. A resume can be a maximum of 2 pages, but a cover letter is always 1 page. Now, when it comes to emails, if you have a goofy email account like sweetcheek69@hotmail.com or rapmasterbebop@gmail.com or macdaddylicious@yahoo.com, if you got a goofy email address like that, do not use that email account for business purposes, for like sending your resumes to the company or communicating with the company. Don't use that email account if you have a goofy email address like that, because some companies take that seriously, and they look at that as a unprofessional person who's certainly unaware of professionalism, right? So you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. So keep that as your personal. Just create a brand new email account with your name in it, and use that for professional purposes. Now, I check my emails in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night before I go to bed, so that I'm not missing any communications. Make sure you do the same. Check your email in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night, so that you're not missing any possible communication from any employers that you've responded to by sending your resume out, right? Now, social media, make sure that you're not putting goofy stuff out there that can shoot yourself in the foot, like you at a bar drinking, knocking back a couple of drinks, or you and your buddies, hanging around at a picnic and you knocking back a 40, those kinds of pictures, and you beefing with somebody online, those kinds of things can turn an employer off. So make sure that you are putting things on your social media that won't come back to bite you. Now, that's basically what I wanted to talk about in terms of employer expectations. Again, if you need to reach out to me or my colleague Dana Fletcher for help putting together your resume, if you don't have one, help with your job search efforts, help with practicing your interviews. If you have an interview that's upcoming and you want to practice, reach out to Dana or myself for that kind of assistance. I want to thank you today for tuning in. I want to thank Agent Johnson for allowing me this opportunity to meet with you. I wish you the very best in your job search efforts. Again, reach out to me if you need any help whatsoever. Thank you so much for your time.